Deadlock has 38 unique characters that are all brimming with life, personality, and charm. And a lot of them have absolutely fantastic and fun kits to play with too, like Jacob Lash here, for example. But not all characters are made equal, and in a game with as diverse of a roster as Deadlock, well, some characters are going to have to be at the bottom. Today, I want to take a look at the least popular characters in Deadlock and see what exactly is going on to make them so unpopular. Do they have bad kit designs? Are they just really weak right now? Or is something else going on entirely? As usual, I'll be getting my pick rate data from StatLocker. This isn't some kind of sponsored segment or anything. The website is free to use. I just like to cite my sources, so this is where I'm getting the data from. And you'll actually notice that there is a bit of a difference between the pick rates of certain characters in all ranks versus Eternus Plus. Some characters go way up in popularity while others go way down. And so in this video, I'll actually be taking a look at characters from both of these data sets to explain why some characters just get a lot less popular the higher up you go. Up first, we have Talon, who's actually received a little bump in his play rate recently, enough that I almost considered not talking about him in this video, but he is a character who has been historically rather unpopular, and it boils down to a few reasons. First of all, he's actually been weak for a very long time, and Valve has been incrementally buffing him over the past several months. He's just been getting small buff after small buff after small buff, and honestly, I dare say he's actually in a state now where he's a little bit of a sleeper pick. He actually packs quite a decent punch if you know how to build him right now, and well, his bird is giving double the spirit power that it used to. Do you guys remember when this was just +5? Oh my goodness. So yeah, I mean, he has been getting a little bit stronger recently, and that's why his play rate has slightly improved. But I think the other reason comes down to the fact that he's just not a very appealing character visually or aesthetically for a lot of players of Deadlock. First of all, he's just ugly right now. He's using his Neon Prime model, which does not fit in Deadlock in the slightest. This is from when the game was in a cyberpunk state. Ugh, I shudder at the thought. But it goes even further than that, because he is the bow character, which naturally is an aesthetic that really only appeals to some people, and he's also kind of an old, dour, serious man who just doesn't really have the same fun or whimsy that someone like Lash or Bebop brings to the table, and so it's the combination of these two traits that means a lot of people just don't really feel like playing him because, I don't know, they'd rather play someone cooler, flashier, stronger, and just more fun. But I do think that once he gets his new remodel, he's going to get the biggest glow up of the entire cast that has yet to get an actual remodel. Mark my words, it's going to be a night and day difference, and his play rate is going to boost substantially. It's also worth noting that his play rate at high elo is a lot higher than it is in the general population. He is a more difficult character to play, and so a lot of the lower elo players don't really want to touch him as much. Up next, we have Mirage, and this is a character who ebbs and flows between having 15 minutes of fame when he's overpowered and then receding into the shadows when he's not. And right now, well, it looks like he's not, because his overall win rate is less than 50%, and that's because he got a rework. He was really strong, and then Valve hit him with a whole bunch of nerfs to the scarabs and the regen to try and cut down on his power, and he's not feeling as overpowered anymore, so people don't really have much of a reason to play him over a lot of the other carry characters because, to be honest, Mirage is just kind of boring for a lot of people. His personality and his story is cool. Visually, he's a very striking character, but his gameplay really just boils down to throwing a scarab at someone, shooting them, and then using Tornado to dodge something or lift someone in place, and then teleporting across the map, which is just kind of a really weird ultimate that doesn't work like any other ultimate in the game. It's certainly not as flashy as a goo ball or a hyper beam or bullet dance or anything like that. I actually talked about Mirage a lot more in detail in a whole separate video, so if you want to see more about why he's so boring and people don't really like him, then I'll leave a link to that video in the description. Up next, we have the ugliest character in the game, Vyper. Yeah, I said it, and deep down, you Vyper mains know it's true, and it's because her model is just blatantly unfinished and horrible. Like, she literally has clipping issues that are so bad that when she walks around, you see parts of her, unmentionables. Ugh. And it gets even worse on the zipline. I won't even show you that one because I'm not sure it's safe to show on YouTube. But what's the deal with Vyper? Why is she so unpopular? Well, it's definitely not because of her voice acting. That is like the one redeeming quality of this character. It really comes down to her gameplay. It's honestly just kind of clunky compared to a lot of other gun characters because you have to constantly do all of this sliding around. And her accuracy is absolutely horrible. She gets some monstrous spread the longer you're firing her gun. I mean, just look at how I'm painting bullets all over the wall. It's kind of awful. And she's also been in kind of a weird balanced state for a long time regarding the power level of some of her abilities, like the Screw Jab Dagger and the Lethal Venom. Lethal Venom is really, really strong early game, then falls off massively late game unless you build for it, but direct Spirit Vyper isn't usually that good anyways. The Bola also has an anti-synergy because you can't damage the person while they're petrified, meaning that Vyper can actually screw over her teammates if she's not careful. And again, have I mentioned the fact that she has to slide around a lot? And aiming while doing that is just kind of awkward and difficult. Furthermore, if someone crowd controls you out of your slide, you run out of ammo stupendously quickly, and that's just not fun either. I think all the jank, combined with the fact that, again, she is the ugliest character in the game, just leads to a lot of people not really wanting to play her, even though her win rate is actually phenomenal right now. She is a very strong character who scales like crazy in the late games, so if you want someone effective, you certainly should give Vyper a try, but I do understand why a lot of people, including myself, don't really enjoy her playstyle. Alright, now this is where we start to see things really deviate between all ranks and Eternus Plus, because Calico is one of the least popular characters in the game, which is such a shocker to me as someone who really enjoys Calico. And indeed, this is an all ranks issue. In Eternus, she is not even in the bottom 10. So, yeah, it really does just boil down to the fact that she is a much more difficult character to play for your average player, because she is an assassin type character who is really dependent on hitting combos and bursting people when they least expect it. She has a very active, very macro-intensive playstyle because she has to try and gank fights and sneak up on people and even use the tunnels in some cases like I'm doing. And the combos aren't as easy to pull off as it is to just start blasting someone in the face with haze. And so I think that difficulty curve is really why you see Calico be so unpopular in the general population, even though she is actually quite a strong character and one who a lot more skilled players such as myself enjoy playing. On the flip side, someone who is extremely unpopular in Eternus, but a little more popular in the general population, is McGinnis, the engineer character. She is actually just above Great Talon in terms of popularity in the general populace, at about 21% pick rate, but in Eternus Plus, she is the third least popular character in the game, with just a 17% pick rate. And this is really for several reasons. First of all, McGinnis is just a highly specialized character. She is a very defensive character because she has to set up a bunch of turrets to have them actually start to whittle away at the enemies. She's really good at just zoning off areas, trapping enemies, and controlling the map in ways that other characters can't really do. And it ends up being a playstyle that is really effective and really fun, but just for a small minority of the population who's really into setting up defenses and controlling choke points like walkers, and then going and pushing the enemy's walkers with a metric crap ton of objective pressure. McGinnis is arguably the strongest character we're going to talk about today, at least when you look at her win rate. She's got an impressive 55% win rate in Eternus Plus, and in all ranks, she still has an impressive 53.9% win rate. The people who play McGinnis really know how to make her work. But also, Valve has done something to McGinnis that has driven some people away from McGinnis, such as myself. They soft reworked her. They did a bunch of changes to McGinnis in the last major balance update that really nerfed one playstyle in particular, the gun playstyle. They reduced her gun damage from boons substantially, and they also removed the fire rate bonus from the Medicinal Spectre. And furthermore, they actually changed around how this works in many different ways, including removing the spirit scaling from the range and duration. And those changes ended up actually sending many people like myself away away from the character who really loved to play around the gun because it just became a playstyle that isn't really effective on McGinnis anymore. Most people are playing turret or ult build, and while these playstyles are good, they just don't appeal to that many people because turrets are very specialized and her ultimate is just kind of clunky. If you wanted to use a big minigun and just go around blasting people with this super satisfying primary fire, well, that's been nerfed pretty much just into the ground, and so I've pretty much stopped playing McGinnis, and I know I'm not the only one. Ew! It's this guy, Sinclair. Ugh. He is the second least popular character in the entire game when you sort by all ranks. However, notably, he is a little more popular in Eternus. He is actually the 9th least popular character in the game up there. Still, not that much of a play rate, although it has seen a little bit of a boost recently. So Sinclair, well, his story really just boils down to the fact that he is arguably the hardest character in the entire game to play. This man's playstyle is not easy. There's a lot of tomfoolery and trickery you can get up to with the assistant. Aiming the vexing bolts is just extraordinarily difficult. Even I really suck at it, and I am an Eternus player myself, although certainly not an Eternus Sinclair. His rabbit hex, it's a little tricky to actually hit it, and then when you do hit the enemies, they actually become harder to attack because they're faster and they have a smaller hitbox, so taking advantage of the damage amp is no easy feat. And then to master Sinclair's ultimate, you actually have to master every other ultimate in the game, and then also understand how those ultimates interact with the Spectral Assistant and the Rabbit Hex. It's a lot of big brain stuff. It is a very, very difficult playstyle to pull off, and the sheer difficulty of this character means that most players are going to shy away from him. That's the simple answer. Now, I have my qualms with this character. I don't necessarily think he's that well designed, and I've made those thoughts clear in a video, which I'll have linked in the description if you want to hear me rant about Sinclair, because I really, really don't like this guy. But at least in regards to his pick rate, it is very straightforward. Yeah, he's just so hard to get value out of, and he's also not even really strong right now, so people don't really have much of an incentive to play him either. In a similar vein to Sinclair, we have Viscous, the goo character, my favorite character in the game who, well, it has kind of had the opposite treatment of Great Talon, where he's just been nerfed and 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 nerfed again some more for months. And then he got some bug fixes that fixed certain items on his Puddle Punch, and then they nerfed it, nerfed it, nerfed it, nerfed it, nerfed it, nerfed it. They just love nerfing Viscous. And even when they do buff him a little bit, it's always immediately followed up with more nerfs because the buffs somehow managed to make this character just a little too silly. And so, at least, speaking for myself, that's the big reason why I've been shying away from Viscous. But, yeah, the general population shies away from Viscous because, similar to Sinclair, he's just really difficult to play. A lot of his abilities have both a high skill floor and a high skill ceiling. Puddle Punches are extremely fun and extremely powerful, but to know how to get the most out of them requires precise placement, timing. You have to know how to use them for rollouts, how to use them for displacing the enemies at the right time. The Cube is a really powerful tool, but it has a very long cooldown, and using it on allies is dangerous because it interrupts what they're doing, so you don't want to use it on them at the wrong time. The Goo Ball, well, that's just really hard to pilot, and to get the most out of this, you have to be really adept at reading the enemy's movements and reacting to them extremely quickly while piloting this thing that is not easy to control in the slightest. And then the Splatter, well, that's the only easy thing about him. And even then, to get the most out of the Splatter, you want to hit the enemies with as many repeated bounces as you can, and that's difficult too. You have to know how to position that thing, and you have to try to take fights with enemies in tight hallways where you're likely to get repeated bounces just like this. So it's that difficulty curve that makes Viscous extremely unpopular in the general population, although at Eternus Plus, he's actually still kind of unpopular, and yeah, people just really are not too happy with Viscous these days. Oh, man. I want Yoshi to treat him better, but I don't think it'll ever happen. And the last character to talk about is Graves, who is the least popular character in the entire game in Eternus Plus lobbies. However, notably, she is nowhere even close to that in all ranks. Let me see if I can find her here. She is, oh my goodness, she has a 36% pick rate in the general population, which puts her in the top 50% of characters, but she is the absolute least popular character at high elo. This is by far the biggest discrepancy we've had in the entire video, so what the heck? Why is this even a thing? Graves is a very, very tricky character design because, well, all of her abilities are auto-aim in some way, shape, or form, except for this wall. Otherwise, her minions will automatically go and attack things, her deadheads will automatically attack whoever she's shooting at, and her gun is auto-aim. You do not need a speck, a modicum of aim to use this weapon. Because of this, the mechanical requirements to play her are in the basement. You don't need to be good mechanically to play Graves at a fundamental level in, low to mid elo. But these exact mechanics are actually the reason why she's doo-doo dog water in Eternus right now. She has so much counterplay baked into all of her mechanics. To kill the deadheads, you just need to shoot them a little bit or hit them with one light melee, just like that. To deal with the tombstone, you just need to keep your distance, shoot the minions, and then heavy melee the tombstone twice. And you can even use heavy melee abilities like Viscous' Puddle Punch when it's maxed out to destroy the tombstone without ever putting yourself in danger. And to avoid her auto-aim, just stand a little farther away from her than you normally would. If you're this Infernus player, just literally stand there. At this distance away, you'll be fine. The only real threat she poses is the wall, but this is also easy to counter because you can literally just double jump over it. So you just have to have the wherewithal and the game sense to know where the wall is and then easily, gracefully avoid it. These are all skills that Eternus players are exceptional at, and so when you know how to counter Graves to this degree, she just becomes utterly useless. But then, the lower down in rank you go, the worse people are at countering Graves. They don't know how to deal with the Jar of Dead as effectively, and so it does a crazy amount of damage. They just let her walk up and get all of this free damage with her primary fire, and they suck at dealing with the Tombstone, and so the ghouls just explode and deal monstrous damage. And it results in her actually being much, much, much more effective the lower down you go, compared to literally any other character in the game. There are other characters that are mechanically easy to play, like Seven, but Seven is still immensely effective in Eternus compared to Graves because he doesn't have so much counterplay baked into his abilities. Graves also received numerous nerfs recently, which has resulted in her abilities just kind of being lackluster even when they aren't hard countered by Eternus players. And so, she ends up having just a 12% pick rate in Eternus Plus, with a staggeringly low 45% win rate, which also happens to be close to the bottom. It is the 4th lowest win rate in Eternus. So, yeah, there's basically just no reason to pick Graves right now if you're an Eternus player, unless you're extremely dedicated to her because you enjoy her minion-based playstyle and aesthetic, which, hey, I certainly do. But, yeah, really what Graves needs is, first of all, some kind of buff to make her better at Eternus, but buffs for Graves are risky because the stronger she is in Eternus, the more exponentially strong she's going to be in the lower ranks where people don't know how to counter her. So she might need some kind of rework to her abilities where there's maybe a little bit less direct counterplay, a little bit more consistency, and then the strength can be rebalanced in a way that she isn't so volatile and different across the different ranks, where she is in the top 50% of characters in the general ranks, but the literal least popular character in the game at high elo. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video, so let me know what you think about all of these different characters in the comments section down below. Do you agree with my analysis as to why many of these characters just aren't played often right now, or is there something that I've missed? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments section down below, as well as what you think about what can be done to maybe make some of these characters more popular. Certainly not every character needs to be extremely popular, and I think some good examples of that are heroes like McGinnis and Calico, but some characters probably do still need some help, like I've discussed in this video. But anyways, with all that being said, make sure to drop a like on this video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here, and I will see you all next time. Peace out.